Hi, Tony. I'm Megan Dunn from Gartner. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. How's your week been so far?
Not too bad. Pretty busy, but not bad.
Yeah, for sure. I get that. I had noticed on your website that you're recently newer to United Bank. How's that position been going for you so far?
It's been good. It's definitely been a learning curve, but no bad things to say about it at least.
That's good. I also had seen that you went to Grambling State. What did you study while you were there?
I studied accounting was my main focus.
Awesome. Is that what you're currently doing right now, or would you say you've steered away from that a little bit?
Um, yes and no. Yes and no. A little bit of both.
For sure, for sure. Has it been a hard adjustment living there compared to here, or do you prefer living here?
Um, I don't know, I guess, if that makes sense. I like both for different reasons, but I definitely like living here a lot. There's definitely a lot to do. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like no matter where you are, there's always pros and cons to everywhere. So I get
yeah.
that for sure. So, a couple of things I just wanted to point out before we got started today. My ideal purpose of this meeting would to be to introduce Gartner to you and the services that we have to offer, and see how we can help improve things on your end. Is there anything that you would like to go over during our time today?
Not that I can think of.
No. Okay. So not only will I be sharing Gartner's services and our components, but I would really like to be able to understand more so where you're coming from and challenges that you're facing with United Bank and how we can help make your life easier. How does that all sound for you?
Good, good.
Um, so first and foremost, is there anyone else involved in your decision-making process typically, or would you say it's mostly just you?
Our CFO, Megan, she pretty much gets the final say.
Okay. Would you say that she's pretty readily available to you most of the time when you need to run things by her, or is she just super busy all the time?
Um, a little bit of both. Sometimes she's super busy, but for the most part, she's pretty flexible.
Gotcha. And whenever she is maybe busy and you have to run something by her and you can't really reach her, do you ever feel overwhelmed by, the responsibility you have on your plate to make important decisions and things like that?
Yeah, I would say sometimes for sure.
Gotcha. So when it comes to making decisions, when it comes to research and finding data for United Bank, what would you say your process usually is when it comes to finding research?
Um, Pretty small process as of now. I think it's more on my end and a few of the employees that I have under me. Um, but it's pretty much just us doing it right now. And it's not necessarily the best system that we could have.
Absolutely. Would you say that you're personally trying to find most of the data, or do you have like interns, employees, other people to do that for you?
Yeah, we do have other employees that can help us out with that for sure. Um, but it's just not our expertise, if I can put it that way.
Yeah.
So it's not what we're best at for sure.
Absolutely. So when you're finding your data/research, would you say you're using just general search engines, or are you looking, how are you finding that information?
Just general search engines typically.
And would you say when it comes to the information that you're finding that it's credible or unbiased, or is that an issue for you?
That is kind of an issue just because since it is more of just a general search, you kind of get everything and it's not always the most accurate or pertaining the most up to date information.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Talking with other CIOs, sometimes they have said that one of their struggles is when employees or people that they're working with are bringing them information and they find it overwhelming, the amount of information that they find, and they struggle picking out the correct information that they should be using and
yeah.
figuring out what is biased. Would you say that that is also a struggle of yours?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. And then could you tell me what are some of your short-term and maybe long-term goals currently with United Bank?
Yeah. So, one of our short term goals is that we want to increase our revenue by 10%. but we also want to cut cost by 4%.
Awesome. And could you give me a better idea of what that might look like in numbers?
As of right now, I don't have the numbers laid out in front of me, but what I will say is that our budget is 1% of our annual revenue, which gives us about $12 million. Half of that goes to our labor and half of that goes to our contracts. So with that 6 million in the contracts, that's what we kind of want to cut back on costs.
Absolutely. And would you say that that is probably your first and foremost priority right now with United?
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. And I know you had just talked a little bit about your budget. Would you say that that is firm, set in place, or do you have a little bit of like wiggle room to go over, under?
I would say we are going to try to stay like firm, set in place to that 6 million. Just because we don't want to cut back our employees. We don't want to cut back the cost that we allocate to our employees. So we really don't want to go over that kind of 6 million that's allocated for our contracts.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you had talked about your, $12 million roughly for budgets, I know you mentioned contracts and labor. What else are you spending money, other areas that you're spending money in?
As of now, that's kind of it. It's just our contracts and our labor. But I will say that with our contracts, we're not necessarily sure that we're getting the best price for what we are getting in return. But we can't figure out where and why that is. So that is kind of like one of our biggest difficulties.
Absolutely. So that actually was one of my follow-up questions. When it comes to your contracts, would you say that you're somewhat satisfied with where you're at, or you're not where you would like to be with your contracts?
I would just say not where we'd like to be. Yeah, because like I said, we're paying all this money out to our contracts, but we're still unsure if that's like the best price that we could get for, like I said, what we're getting in return.
Absolutely. And then going along with the pricing that you're paying for your contracts, when I had asked earlier about the credibility of your information, things like that, do you ever feel like that interferes with one of the reasons why your contracts are not as stable? Or would you say it's strictly just like a money thing?
I feel like it could. It definitely could.
Gotcha. Well, so the biggest few things I've taken away from our conversation so far are that you would really like to be able to find a more successful way to maximize, where you're spending your money and maximize profit. Sometimes the information that you're receiving from search engines and things of that nature are not always as credible as you would like them to be. And also sometimes that you are faced with making decisions alone when you cannot reach your partner, Megan. Would you say that those are all correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So would you mind if I show you a couple of visuals?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. Okay, so these are just 3 of our main components that we offer to you through Gartner. So the first one is really focusing on the research part. We don't partner with anyone else, so all of the information that we pull is totally unbiased and it's not lenient towards one company or another. The second part is the cost optimization tool, which is really going to help you hone in on that budget and be responsible with where you're spending your money and things of that nature. And the third part is the executive partner. They are a professional, they're an analyst, and they would be available to you all of the time to help you make decisions or give you advice, maybe when Megan cannot be available to you. Do you have any questions or concerns so far at this point?
Not as of now.
No? Okay. So the next slide that I wanted to share with you is just showing you a little bit of our price point and what Gartner, how it would be an investment to you. So it is a 3-year contract and it's $50,000 per year. totaling for $150,000. You can add employees or interns or whoever else you want to your plan to where they would be an additional $15,000, but they wouldn't have to pay the full $50,000 per year. Do you have any questions about this?
I guess that 50,000 just seems a little high per year.
Absolutely. So is that because you are not totally sure on what our products have to offer, or?
I guess it's kind of a little bit of both because, like I said before, we are trying to cut costs. So that does seem like a pretty pricey expense when we are trying to cut.
Absolutely. So do you also have, do you have interns or other people that you're currently paying maybe more than you want to and feeling like you're not getting like a good return or investment from them?
I actually feel like our team is pretty solid. As of right now, we don't have any interns. It's just our employees right now, but they have all been a huge benefit to the company.
Absolutely. Well, it's good to hear that you feel confident in the people that you have on your team. So one other thing with our budget is that on average, we can usually tend to save 15 to 20% costs for 75% of our contracts. So I know that earlier you had mentioned spending an equal amount on labor and contracts, which would come to around 6 million apiece. So if we do the math a little bit, if you multiply the 6 million by the 75% for the contracts and then the 15% of what we can save, that gives you a total of around $675,000 that we would be able to help save on your behalf. So while the cost may initially seem a little high, it really is a return of investment for you guys.
Okay.
Does that help clarify your concern a little bit?
Yeah, it does.
Awesome. So the last slide is just a little display of how we make our process, like how we do our process at Gartner and the steps that we take to, get to our end goals. Do you have any questions about this?
I guess my only other question is like, what separates Gardner from any other research company?
So have you ever partnered with another company like Gartner in the past, or have you just only worked like in-house?
I know they tried before I started with the company. I know they had tried before and it didn't work out. And then we've kind of just done it in-house since, well, at least since I've been there. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like our readiness and our availability is one of the things that for sure is very helpful to our clients, as well as the unbiasedness. That's, I think, our biggest issue that we find with other people is that they just have a hard time finding research that they find is credible. And that is a big part of the company. So I do have a list of referrals of customers that are currently using the Gartner service that, are loving it and think that it's worth every penny. So if you would like to see those, I'd be more than happy to send that to you after our meeting.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome. So at this point, do you have any other concerns or questions about budget, anything that we have gone over, any components of Gartner?
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay. Do you feel like at this point you would be ready to move forward with us?
Yeah, I think this is definitely something that I could take to Megan.
Awesome. I would love to be able to set up an appointment with you and Megan next week to be able to involve her and catch her up and hopefully make forward progress from there. Does that sound okay with you?
Yeah.
Awesome. So next week, do you have anything available on Wednesday around 3-ish?
Yeah, we could do Wednesday at 3.
Awesome. Okay. And is there anything that you would like me to bring or prepare for our meeting that you think would help make Megan more comfortable or catch her up to speed at all?
Maybe just the financials that you had kind of showed me, because I can definitely explain it to her, but not as well as you could. So
absolutely. Okay. Well, I will make sure to type that all up and put that in a list. And I look forward to seeing you next week on Wednesday.
Perfect. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.